It's been a while now since I've done a book haul video, and I thought it's high time to do another one, particularly with what I've got to show you here, and there is a fair bit to get through. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're with Chris, and today I'm super excited to be sharing with you another book haul. It has been a while between book haul videos, and I'm excited to share with you what I've actually got. So why don't we kick it off straight away with a nice reading copy of Stephen King's The Stand. Now, when I was in my reading slump back in April, I was pretty depressed and not feeling great in my head, and I bought this second-hand off eBay, which is a really good second-hand cover, and I thought, you know, I weren't doing videos at the time, and I thought I'm just going to read The Stand, but got my second wind, and it has fallen to the back of the queue a little bit, so I'm not quite sure when I'm going to get to this. It's been a long time since I have read it. I have read it twice, so I do want to read it a third time. But when I get to it, who knows. But it's a nice little US mass market paperback, which is nice. And it's got a decent font in it as well. So some of the editions you can get of this, the font is nearly microscopic. And for my ailing eyesight as I get older, this should be fairly easy to read. Alright. Now, I picked up a second-hand trilogy from Kim Falconer. This is the what's it called? The Quantum Enchantment series. Now, I've got the first book, which is Arrows of Time. So I believe there's a little bit of time travel in this. It looks pretty interesting. These were $4 each at a local op shop, and me, who never really pays full price for second-hand books, I haggled a little bit and got the three of them for $10, so I saved $2. You got to save where you can, right? But I've got that one. Book number 2 is The Spell of Rosette, or book 1, sorry, this is The Spell of Rosette. I love the retro paperback art. It's just really, really stunning, which attracted me to it. I've never read Kim Falconer in my life. When I get to these, I'm not quite sure, but this is followed up with book 3, which is Strange Attractors. And just look at this art. It's just amazing. I mean, you'd buy them for the covers alone, wouldn't you? Alright. Okay, now this one I picked up as well. This is The Tomb by F. Paul Wilson, recommended to me by John over at Talking Story. He thought I would get a kick out of this one, and it's the first Repairman Jack novel. So good place to start, and it looks very, very interesting. So if I find time this year, I'll probably get into it. But looks really, really interesting, and can't wait to share my thoughts with John once I get to read it. Alright, now this one, Joe Abercrombie is an author who's talked about a lot on BookTube, and you know, I've watched videos with reviews of his books, and you know, it seems really, really interesting. So I ended up picking up a copy of The Blade itself, which is the first book in the series, I believe, and sounds pretty good. And I've heard nothing but good reviews about it, so hopefully that will be good. And again, as always, when I get to it, I'm just not sure, but it's there. So you know, one day I might pick it up randomly if I'm in the mood and just read it. All right. Now we get into some larger paperbacks. Now, Frida McFadden is a thriller author who I've only just discovered this year, pretty much. And as soon as I read The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret, I was hooked, because she does have a really good compulsive writing style that draws you in. And you read some titles where there's a single twist and that sort of thing, which is all well and good, but Frida McFadden is renowned for weaving in multiple twists in her work, and I enjoy her writing so much that I had to actually go out and pick up The Inmate, which I started reading this one. I have to get back into it, but it just sounded really, really good. And I've also got The Locked Door, and we have The Teacher, which hasn't been out too long, and we have One by One. So I've recently been stocking up on these ones because they are fairly quick reads. So in between large chunkers, they do make for good reading as palate cleansers as well. But you know, her writing style is very, very quick. The pacing is fantastic, and yeah, I usually get through one of these in no time. So these ones will be read sooner rather than later. I'm thinking in the next month or two I'll smash these out. Okay, now this one's interesting. I've heard a lot about this book on BookTube. Now, it's not something I normally read. I very rarely, if at all, read mainstream fiction, you know, which doesn't happen to have a genre. And this one has been spoken about, and I've watched people's emotional reactions and telling everyone about what this did to their emotions. And this is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. It's been, you know, it's been around for a while. It's been published for a few years, and the characters in it, I believe it's been quoted as taking you to emotional hell and back. And I was intrigued more than anything because it's something I never ever read, but from what I've watched about it on BookTube, it looks really, really interesting. It's about four friends who come together, and it examines their life, and there's one character in particular they surround themselves with, and yeah, it just looks really, really interesting, but very compelling. I'm almost scared to read it because of what it's done to people. It's a Man Booker Award winner, or shortlisted for the National Book Award for Fiction, winner of the British Book Award for Fiction, and shortlisted for the Booker Prize. So a book like this with that many mentions has to be good, right? But when I get to it, I'm not sure. It is a chunker. It is 681 pages, so time will tell when I get to it. All right, up next we have Lee Bardugo's Ninth House, which is all about secret societies in university, and I think there's a crime where a young girl is murdered, and someone has to solve it. So it looks really, really interesting, and can't wait to get stuck into that. Again, as always, not quite sure when I'm going to get to it, but we will see. All right, now this little read here, I'm intrigued by time travel. I always am. And I'm always on the lookout for really good, decent time travel stories, and these have become quite famous and very popular, and that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, which, you know, it's short. It has, how many stories in here? It's got about 4 stories in this one, and it's about a cafe where you sit down and have a cup of coffee, and you get the opportunity to go back in time to revisit certain events or relive certain moments in your life, and you have to be back before the coffee gets cold, which is a fascinating premise. And I don't know why I haven't started this sooner rather than later, because, you know, in between longer reads, you can read one of these stories and go back to reading whatever and then come back to it. It is only, you know, 177 pages. I should just sit down one weekend and just smash it out, because I am curious as to what these stories are about, because they are very well reviewed, and everywhere you look people have been reading these. So there's a couple of books in the series, and yeah, can't wait to get stuck in. Okay, so let's look at some recent releases I have picked up, and I'll start off with Tom Clancy's Act of Defiance by Andrews and Wilson. Andrews and Wilson are a writing partnership who have wrote the Tier 1 series, which is about special operators who go in and fight terrorism. So this is the first contribution from them in the Jack Ryan verse, and I'm excited about this, and I've got to read the back cover to you. Okay, this says, US intelligence says there's something going on in Russia. While their land forces have been decimated by corruption and incompetence, the Navy seems to be pouring money into some secret project. Analysts are stumped until the knot is untangled by one particularly bright young woman at the Office of Naval Intelligence, Katie Ryan, the youngest daughter of President Jack Ryan. Like her father, she sees patterns where others don't, and she's certain that the Russians are about to launch a super missile submarine, the Belgorod. Now the race is on to determine where the sub is and whether it poses a threat to the continental US. So, fascinating. We get to read about Katie Ryan for the first time. Now, the only puzzling thing about this is Katie Ryan is very, very young in the early days of President Ryan's term as president. So there's a little bit of a time discrepancy there, because you can only serve 8 years as a president, right, at the most. And it's sort of, the timing is a little bit off, because if Katie has grown up to be a young naval officer, then President Ryan shouldn't be president anymore. He should be retired. So there's a little bit of a time discrepancy there, but I'll forgive it because I love the series so much. And every time a Jack Ryan book comes out, I'm always diving in very, very quickly. Now, I am tied up with the Horror Mayhem project at the moment, at the time of filming this, so I can't quite get to it at the moment, but you can rest assured that in June, this one will be read and reviewed right here on the channel. Okay, another one I've picked up now. This is Private Monaco by James Patterson and Adam Handy. Now, with this private series and the Detective Michael Bennett series, I've been outspoken in recent months about how I felt about the series with the latest installments. Now, the last installment in the Michael Bennett series I absolutely enjoyed. The previous one I didn't, and I made that quite obvious with speaking on the channel. Now, this one is the next in the private series since reading the last one where I didn't like it. So again, we're at the stage where this one has a lot to prove. It needs to be good for me to continue reading the series, because I have mentioned that I have been unhappy with the series, and can't wait to see how it goes. But I'm a little bit nervous about it because I didn't like the last book, and hopefully this one will be good, because Jack Morgan has to go after his love interest in this one, who gets kidnapped. So it's got potential just from that alone, so time will tell. Alright, now we have this one here, which is called Five Broken Blades, a standalone fantasy novel by May Corland. Now, this one I'll read the back to you because it sounds really interesting. And this says, it's the season for treason. The king of Yusan must die. The 5 most dangerous liars in the land have been mysteriously summoned to work together for a single objective, to kill the god King June. He has it coming. Under the merciless immortal hand, the nobles flourish while the poor and innocent are imprisoned, ruined or sold. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? And now each of the 5 blades will come for him. Each has tasted bitterness, from the hired hitman seeking atonement, a lovely assassin who seeks freedom, or even the prince banished for his cruel crimes. No one can resist the sweet, icy lure of vengeance. They can agree on murder, they can agree on treachery, but for these 5 killers, each versed in deception, lies and betrayal, it's not enough to forge an alliance. To survive, they'll have to find a way to touch each other, but only one can take the crown. Let the best liar win. Sounds really good. Short chapters, large font. I'm sold. Because it will be a very quick read for me. So looking forward to reading that sooner rather than later. Okay, next up we have Empire of the Damned by J. Christoph. This one is the follow-up from the first book, Empire of the Vampire. I wanted to read this straight away when it came out, but I got distracted with other things, and it has gone to the back of the line a little bit. But this will be one that I'll hopefully be reading in June or July. It's had rave reviews already, and can't wait to get stuck in to see what happens next, because I did enjoy the first one immensely, and yeah, can't wait. Alright, and finally with the large format new releases, I have, of course, You Like It Darker by Mr. Stephen King. I literally received this in the post yesterday. Funny story, we have a department store here that I can't be relied upon to get new release books out in time, right? So I ordered it online because I knew that I wouldn't get it on new release day. So I got the book in the post, unwrapped it, and there was a big crease in the corner up here. Now there's no crease at the moment because my sensational wife went out and bought me a copy from the department store that happened to have them out, which was unusual. So basically I lodged a return with Amazon, sent it off yesterday, and my wife brought this home for me, which is a pristine copy, because she did mention that when she was fossicking for a really good copy for me, she really likes to make sure I get a perfect copy. which, you know, there's lots of reasons why I married her. That's one of them. And she said some of the embossing was rubbed off on some of the books, so she got me an immaculate copy, and I have started this yesterday. And you know, I dropped everything in between reading some short stories for the Horror Mayhem project that I'm currently doing. I can read this in between as well and get a head start, because this will be part of contemporary horror, which is the theme for next week. But yeah, so far I'm only a few pages in because I haven't had much time, but the writing is solid from what I've read of this. So there you go. All right, now let's show you a box set I bought some time ago, and I loved these books as a kid. I think if you're going to think about the most prolific, famous childhood author from your childhood, the mantle has to go to Enid Blyton for me. I loved The Secret Seven. I loved The Famous Five. I read through everything. The Enchanted Wood, The Magic Faraway Tree. Who can forget Moonface, right? He used to pop toffee in his mouth and choke on it. But fond memories, fond memories. The Magic Wishing Chair is another series that comes to mind. And recently I found a box set of The Famous Five. All 21 books in the series. The thing that mildly concerns me is that because the copyright expired, it means that the original text can be altered. Okay, you can see the and you can also see the illustrations of the covers on here, which have used vintage imagery as well. If I can zoom in there a little bit, you can see how it's used classic images from past books, which is nice. But I think some of the content has actually been changed in a minor way. I'm not quite sure what way it's been changed in, but I plan on reading them at some stage because they are a very, very quick. Each one will be a very, very quick read, and it'll be a good trip down memory lane because I absolutely loved them as a kid. I used to have the some of the paperback versions, which were TV tie-in covers. If you remember those, it had scenes, still pictures from scenes from the TV series. I also, I think the last couple of years, I dug through some childhood possessions and found a big LP of an audio book for one of the Famous Five stories, which was a real nostalgia trip. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they stack up now, reading them as a grown adult, which is going to be very interesting. They were very cheap. I think I paid $50 for them and just had to get them. Sometimes you feel nostalgic and you want to revisit your childhood. And speaking of childhood, or more specifically middle grade reads, I've actually picked up recently a whole heap of middle grade reads which make for great palate cleansers, and some of them are for older readers as well. But yeah, I've got a whole stack here that I'll go through, and the first one I'll show you is the Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I've been really interested in this for a little while and picked up the first couple of books in the series about secret societies and the 6 extraordinary magicians here. It looks really, really interesting. It's a bit of a chunker. It's, you know, nearly 500 pages. It's got some meat to it, and looking forward to getting stuck into that whenever that will be. And I've also got the follow-up book, which is the Atlas Paradox as well. And there's the third book that's been released, but I'm going to wait until it's available in smaller format before I buy that one. And what have we got here? We've got, this one's really, really interesting, The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Now, I believe she wrote the circus novel, actually. What was that called? It was called, yeah, The Night Circus. So this one, I'll read the back of this to you because this sounds really, really interesting. This says, "We are all stardust and stories. When Zachary Rawlins stumbles across a mysterious book containing details from his own life among its pages, it leads him on a quest unlike any other. Following the clues inside, he is guided to a masquerade ball, a dangerous secret club, and finally to an ancient subterranean library. What Zachary finds in this curious place is more than just a buried home for books and their guardians. It is a place of lost cities and seas, lovers who pass notes across time, and of stories whispered by the dead. But when the library is threatened, Zachary must race through its twisting tunnels and sweetly soaked shores, searching for the end of his story." So, I mean, it's got time travel in it, it's got magic in it, and I thought it looks really good. I've heard good things about it, so I had to pick it up. Okay, and what have we got here? Now this is made into a TV series recently, and this is The Magicians by Lev Grossman, about some magician students who attend a college, and I'll just read this one to you as well. Quentin Clearwater is brilliant but miserable, obsessed with the fantasy novels he read as a child. He finds the real world just doesn't compare. Then one day it happens, he stumbles into a hidden world and he's invited to join a very exclusive college where he will learn the craft of modern magic. But something is still missing, and now Quentin will do anything to find what he's always been looking for. Sounds really cool. There are 2 more books that makes up a trilogy as well. So there we go. Now, some younger reader stuff, which, I'm a big kid at heart, let's be honest. So I actually picked up the first 4 books of Percy Jackson. So we've got, and these are beautiful editions, they're so colourful and bright and vibrant. The cover art is stunning, and the first one is of course Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Just look at that art, it's sensational. We have book number 2, which is Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. Just look at that, incredible stuff. Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse. Look at how the combination of blue and purple and yellow there, absolutely fantastic. And we have Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth, which you can see, look at those colours pop, just absolutely incredible. But I was drawn by the covers and I thought, I'm going to pick these up. Alright, and of course I've got forgot book number 5, which is Percy Jackson, The Last Olympian, which is cool. Whoever did the cover designs for these is very gifted. Alright, now let's the last group of books I'm going to show you is a box set I picked up by David Williams, who is the British comedian, as you may know, and he is a prolific writer of funny kids books. These are going to make superb palate cleansers in between longer reads and very quick reads, and I'm actually going to look at reading a couple of these with my 8-year-old as well. But the first one we've got is Rat Burger, and we have Gangster Granny, and we have Billionaire Boy, and Mr. Stink, which will be a funny one, I reckon. We have The Boy in the Dress, Awful Auntie, Demon Dentist. Isn't the cover art fun? And Bad Dad, and The Midnight Gang, and the last one is Grandpa's Great Escape. So these ones, I mean, look, they've got pictures in there, illustrated by Quentin Blake. Quentin Blake isn't my favourite illustrator. He did do a lot of the Roald Dahl books, but it's broken up with a lot of pictures. It's very short. I mean, look, with this one, you've got how many pages? About almost 400 pages with this one, but you've got nice big text. You've got it punctuated with, large words like this. And it just looks like a lot of fun, and hopefully a couple of laughs along the way. So that was a box set of 10, which I think cost me about $60 or thereabouts. So yeah, a bit of spendage there, but I can't help it. I have to buy books. And will I read all these in my lifetime? That remains to be seen. When I spoke to John over at Talking Story in our live stream yesterday, he terms it as thumbing his nose up at mortality, and I agreed. It's like I'm in denial of my own mortality. I'm like, I'm going to get to these. I'm going to read every single book I own. Wishful thinking, I think, but yeah, it's nice to be surrounded by books. He said it makes him happy, and I completely agree. It makes me happy to be surrounded by books, and we talked about this for a little while, and if you're going to have a vice, this is it. So thank you very much for sharing my book haul. I always like to do these videos. I always like to watch book haul videos on BookTube as well to see what people are reading. It influences my own spending as well, which I guess it's a good thing, but you can't be buried with your money, can you? But had an absolute ball with this video, just sharing with you everything I've got, which is you know, I've got to redo my shelves soon, and I'm running out of room, so I'm going to have to do, I've already done a mini book unhaul this year. I might have to do another one because I am running out of space big time. I have a wall behind over here. I have another wall that I can fill. It just means moving this whole computer setup to my window, which if I can sweet talk my wife into it in the future, getting another few shelves in, I'll do it. It might take some convincing, but if I've got 3 walls full of books, it'll look amazing. But I just love being surrounded by books. Who doesn't? So there you go, guys. That is it for my book haul. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will produce the best content I can. Offer up any feedback as per usual, and I will respond to that and engage with you. But until the next video, guys, which won't be far away, happy reading.